Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you guys. Let's see if everything works before I start rambling. But I think it should. Yeah, just checked myself. Looks and sounds good. Nice. Good to see you guys. Sorry for the late notice. Been a busy day. Gonna have a busy day. If it gets loud in the background, I have a few people over, so hope that's not too big of a problem. But yeah, we'll make do. Sounds looks good. Nice. Good to hear. We looking bullish, Duck? I say with every passing day that we don't pump, it looks less and less bullish to me. So do we look bullish? Chart looks exactly the same as it did a couple days ago. But I'm less bullish than a couple days ago. So every day that passes by that we don't pump, I get less and less bullish. But still bullish for now. So yeah. Don our boxing king? Nah, man. Nah, I'm not gonna take that title. Nah. He chickened out as I suspected. So I mean, I never really thought I would have to box. I just knew that he'd chicken out. So yeah, people like to talk, but once they're actually challenged, yeah. What is it like the loud dogs, whatever? There's like this barking thing. The dogs that bark the loudest or something. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. Sorry for getting distracted. I'll answer some questions and all that kind of stuff once we start rolling. But yeah, before I start, I want to give a big shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. I think they have the best mobile app for spot trading in the game. You should check it out if you're interested. They also do portfolio tracking, all that kind of stuff. So you don't necessarily have to trade. You can just track your portfolio on there as well. Same as it's always been. They just rebranded from Blockfolio to FTX. So yeah, can only recommend it. It's really good. In my opinion, it's pretty much the best that like crypto has to offer in the terms of mobile stuff. So yeah, appreciate them supporting the channel, and then obviously like they're pretty chill to work with as well. So barking dogs seldom bite. Yeah, I knew there was like a saying there. Yeah, barking dogs don't bite. Yeah, that's what I figured. And I mean, I kind of knew how that whole drama was gonna go, but I was just like, I mean, I'm down to fight. I've never done it before, but I'm always down to learn. And honestly, like if you like talk big game, you should be ready to, yeah, to deliver, right? And I thought like, okay, maybe, who knows? Like, I don't know the guy. Like, I don't know SC in real life, but I was like, maybe he's actually like more of a stand-up guy than I imagined. Maybe he's gonna actually fight his own fights, but turns out no. It's pumping. Finally, FOMC worked. Yeah, I mean, it's like a pretty bad stream timing, but like I said, I have guests, so I kind of have to get this out the way and then join them. So yeah, we're gonna run into news price movement pretty much during the entire stream. Fights risk brain damage. It's not worth fighting some nerd on Twitter. Do you really think that? I mean, no offense to him, but do you really think he could cause like brain damage? I don't think so. I sorry, but I don't. I just don't think so. It's much more likely that we both be gassed and no one actually has any strength left. But yeah, this is like the low time frame movement I was just talking about. Like you get wild movements during stuff like this. Like you see like a bunch of people in the chat be like pump, and then they're like dump, and it's like it's whatever. Doesn't really change anything. Don't get stuck on the minute time frame. And this is all S&P shenanigans as well. You can see how this is just nothing. Right? But yeah, that's that. Why is he saying like I don't want to fight in public because he doesn't want to show his face or what? No, it's just like I mean, if you don't want to be fighting in public, right? There's easy ways to do it. Like I wouldn't mind going and having like a private round where like there's just like 10 spectators and stuff that just watch it, and then no, but it's like it's an easy out basically, because then you can say that I just want to have a street fight, and if I say yes, either he's not gonna show up or he's gonna show up with his goons, right? And you're not. I don't want to be stabbed. It's not worth it. Like in a public kind of setting, I don't mind, but the guy threatened to break my legs, right? And I'd be stupid to be like, let's meet on this parking lot with a guy that clearly has no morals because he shills scams to his followers, and with a guy that has friends that start going aggro the moment you mention him. I mean, it's just, I'm not stupid. So yeah. But yeah, let's leave that topic aside. I don't think like most people care. Or if so, we can do it at the end of the show. But yeah, let's go over like Bitcoin, go over maybe ETH, go over maybe some altcoins. They've been taking a pretty big beating. So there's something to talk about there, and then we can do whatever you guys want to. So yes, monthly time frame, right? We are still trading, and this is why I said like we're a little bit on a timer. Like every day we don't pump. It's actually like not good news, because at the end of the day we have 6 days left for this to close above resistance, right? If it doesn't, this is a technical breakdown. We can still, like, we could close like this and have like an up month next month, and people would maybe turn back bullish at 34K, 35K, but it'd still be technically bearish. And at that point, I don't want to be holding my Bitcoin anymore, right? Like I bought at range low on the lower time frame, so I'm going to go over that in a second. Hoping or like expecting that we would close the monthly above support, right? And if we close it below, I'm gonna close into whatever I'm given, right? Into whatever liquidity I'm given. And the longer we don't move up, the more likely it is that we close below, because you can kind of justify a 5K move over a week in the current kind of conditions. It starts getting really, really hard to justify a 5K move in a day, right? So you kind of have like a time window of maybe the next 2 to 3 days where we have to like have a move to the upside. Otherwise, we're just gonna close below support, turning it into resistance, and then you'd have to, like, just on the technical side of things, you'd have to fade the move, or at least just be out of the market if you're trading according to a system like mine. So that's kind of like the time limit that we have, and that's why like I'm not too excited that we haven't done anything in the last few days. But it is what it is. We still have 6 days. 6 days to move this is still in the realm of possibility, but it's starting to get unlikely, right? So that's the monthly. The weekly time frame, we've actually been closing below support, which is obviously not ideal. It's now resistance as well. So if we move up this week, it's technically still a bearish retest, right? So chart-wise, the monthly pretty far from where it should be. The weekly actually closed below where it should have, which is a pretty bad sign. And while I can see like a green candle towards resistance, it's pretty tough to justify any kind of long exposure if we don't get that snapback that I was talking about on the monthly, right? So if we move this week into resistance here, close like this, it's actually not the worst in the world, just because the monthly time frame is then going to be closing above support, which opens up the possibility of people just shorting the breakdown here and then getting hit in the face like this, right? Same deal. If we get like some bullish action, we'd have the same thing up here, like down here, that we had up here. That's kind of the only way to turn this nicely. So if we don't close this week nice and green, this week it starts getting a little bit dicey. And then, like, I think if the monthly fails, right, let's talk about like invalidation, because I mean, I'm in a position, I need to talk about invalidation. If the monthly fails, the weekly has to be regarded as like a breakdown until we close back above, right? So if we move back up, show some strength, I'm down to like buy like a pullback towards like support. I'm down to do whatever, right? I'm even down to buy into strength. But at that point, like if the monthly doesn't do what I wanted to, like I don't have a setup anymore. And even if my gut feeling at that point is up, I'm not down to just blindly trade on gut feeling. But right now it's still, my gut feeling's still up. I still think there's a possibility to just have like a giga moon, close above monthly support and then run hard. But you got to talk about both sides, right? And yeah, the charts are pretty tough. Daily time frame, there's really nothing there. This is just going sideways. You could argue there's like a triangle there. You could argue there's just like a range. But this is just nothing, right? It's just going sideways. You don't need to title it anything. It's just sideways. The better time frame to look at is the 4 hour, which has been really interesting, right? So this is what we're kind of currently dealing with. And it's just been, like, I had my part in this, right? Like, I had my part in this, and partially here, I'm not at fault for this, right? I was like, this is like a decent support to buy. I was buying it. This is decent support to buy. I was buying it. Did the same thing. And then I was like, okay, like you can't, like at some point you just can't do it anymore. Like this is too often, right? Free support tests. I'm not going to be increasing my position on the fourth one, right? Same thing is true for resistance though, where we have one test here, another here, two here, one here, one here. So this is like 5 or 6 tests, depending on how you look at it. So we have 4 support tests, 5 or 6 resistance tests, and this is just kind of like a super old range. That's just complete garbage to trade, right? Like if you're trading these extremes, you're gambling, in my opinion. Doesn't really make much sense. The interesting part when, like, let's say you're not in position, unlike I am, like I said, I'm from the low of the range, like down here, somewhere in the middle of this box. Let's say you're not in position, right? How do you kind of deal with this entire thing? And it's nice because rarely do you get good setups on the lower time frames, but this is gonna open up a possibility, right? So one, the bullish setup is we lose the range and then we reclaim it. At that point, I think there's a good chance that you can either take it to range high, which is like a 5 to 6% move. At that point, this old range still like works again. Or if you're really bullish, you'd actually target a breakout to the upside. And then you have like all the higher targets. This is like the bullish side of things. And then the bearish side of things is pretty clear as well. If we break out here, right, and have like a nice move that gets faded, I think we're going to take out this stock. So you're going to have all of this move, which is a 16% move to the downside that you can play with, right? Those are the only 2 setups that are really like interesting here. Unless you obviously position yourself at the range low for upside or at the range high for general downside. But I think the more interesting trades, if you're not in one already, are these 2. You fade whatever, like, but you don't want to be fading the breakdown here while you're doing this, like while it's going down. You want to be fading it here, and you don't want to be fading the breakout up here. You want to be fading it down here, because if it breaks out here, there's a chance that it just keeps on running. And the same thing is true to the downside, obviously. Does that make sense? I think it does. It's pretty clear. It's a nice kind of opportunity to take care, like, or to take advantage of a market that's pretty how do you say it? It's pretty stagnant. It's not really moving, very settled. And then once it actually starts shaking people up, I think there's going to be possibilities to take trades there. Yeah, obviously gonna get like trolls from SC's side now, given he doesn't want to do, and this is like the thing, this is why like having Twitter beef is just like stupid, because there's people that like have no problem fighting their own fights, and then there's people that are like that like don't like that are afraid to fight their own fights, but they're gonna send their goons. And I mean, I only exclusively get into fights with people that don't have the balls to stand up for themselves, but rather send other people in. So yeah, this is why I tend to avoid it. When climbing for the second time today, fucked up my big toes. Yeah, it's always pretty stuffy in those shoes. Shouldn't hurt too much. Should just be like a little bit pressure. People always say like the climbing shoes have to hurt, blah blah blah. I don't agree. They have to just be like nice and tight, but not hurt. Okay, let me see what you guys have written. Hi everyone, I always like the video. They make crypto possible for noobs. Thanks man, appreciate the compliment. Jesus fucking Christ, what is this price action? Yeah, it's pretty tough. Like that's the thing, right? Like this is all we've been doing for the last 12 days, and that is pretty rough. And if you're talking about the lower time frame stuff, this is, if you're like confused why we're trading the lower time frames like we are, it's just I mean, it's just the S&P. Like this is the Fed talks. You see this? There's no big difference there. So we're just gonna mirror it as usual. Do you work out with Brett? No, but I mean, he's given me like a trading plan and stuff, but I do like other stuff. So like I don't fully follow it just because I don't have the time for it. Duck, you're a legend. Don't let Twitter peeps get to you. They don't. It's just it's tiresome, really. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'd liked it for there to be like open discourse, and like if you have a problem, you kind of deal with it yourself, kind of deal. But that's not how Twitter works. That's not how social media works either. It's just like witch hunting on both sides. If Bitcoin closes below the monthly, but ETH is still above weekly support, would you still close ETH? I mean, yeah. I don't have like an ETH position. I was considering buying ETH, but I wasn't sold on ETH BTC, and for good reason apparently. But yeah, if I get like if I get a bearish signal on Bitcoin, I'm not gonna be holding anything else either. "12 days of nothing and Twitter picking fights already." Yeah, I mean that fight, we actually started the fight during the bull market, right? So for the people that don't know, there's like this trader on Twitter that shills garbage to his followers, has like a paid group, and then plays himself up to be like this badass. And I called him out on the shilling garbage to his followers part. And ever since then, he's been trying to pick fights. And yesterday, I called him out on it when he said like he'd break my bones if he saw me in real life. I was like, I mean, if you want to, we can actually have a fight in real life, like a proper one, full like boxing, ring, everything. And then he just chickened out basically. So that's the story there. There's really not that much. People just like, when markets are boring, people like to jump onto the trauma train, and this one seems to be the one of the week. So yeah, that's the backstory pretty much. There's not that much interesting there. Stop talking about the drama. We are here for your insights and Litecoin position updates. Dude, if you're here for the Litecoin position updates, oh Jesus Christ. I mean, like that's the thing, right? I talk about positions. Where's Litecoin anyway? Here's Litecoin. And I was like, before I left on vacation, I was like, close this shit out if it closes below. Where's the USD pair? Oh, That's nice when you like trade stuff and don't even have it in your watch list because your watch list is so useless. I said this was the setup, right? And I was like, we were like trading at 110. And I was like, okay, if we close below 110, this inverse head and shoulder setup is fucked, so get out. Now it's dumped a shitload since then, right? And I went on vacation, didn't sell. So I'm still stuck in this garbage. But it's an altcoin position. My altcoin positions are never big, right? So I'm like, I could see this go to zero and like it wouldn't affect me too much. But given I shared it, I'm pretty sure like a bunch of people just went completely and fully degen on it and are now like waiting for my updates, which my update is basically you should have sold once the setup got invalidated, and now it's just basically a gamble. And if Bitcoin goes down, the shit is going to go to like near zero. And if Bitcoin goes up, it's going to bounce and then you get an exit and you can do whatever you want with it. If Bitcoin goes up, I mean, I'm going to sell. There's no setup here. This is just basically gamble, right? So, yeah, that was setup. It was invalidated. I gave like a pretty clear invalidation. It invalidated me. Even like during my vacation, I think when we were like trading below 100, I was like, I've been invalidated. You can dump on me. I don't mind. But yeah, I'm still stuck in it, down like 40%, which is like pretty rough. It is what it is. It's no composition. Shit happens. Is there Litecoin spot? Yes. I just bought a bunch. It's pretty much like Bitcoin, to be honest, where like the bullish setup got invalidated. Now you're praying to God that this is just like a fake out. So, did Doug cover XMR BTC? XMR is actually interesting. I did not so far. It's one of the ones where I have a position which I don't want to talk about because every time I talk on fucking like altcoin positions, they go to zero. But I bought a bunch of XMR and it's been up only. I talked about this on a bunch of shows. I don't think did I talk about it on here? There's a good chance I did, but I don't know. Like I talked about it on a bunch of shows. It's been up only. It's been up only on XMR, like on the Bitcoin pair and on the USD pair. Like this is the Bitcoin dump. It's completely engulfed the Bitcoin dump. If you compare that to Bitcoin, it's like Bitcoin if Bitcoin was trading at 40K, right? That's what XMR is doing, which is pretty nice. I didn't get in super low. I got in like somewhere in the last few days. But yeah, basically just like a news play and a relative strength play. But yeah, now that I've mentioned it, it's gonna go to zero. I'd much rather just talk about Bitcoin because fucking hell. I think like what happens basically with a bunch of these positions on altcoins is people jump in on leverage and then they just get hunted and I get fucked because I'm on spot and the same trading in the same direction. But yeah, I'm still like the setup is basically this one where I bounce from support and I think we're gonna run into resistance, which is like a comfy 2x away for me anyway. So that's the XMR kind of thing. I think it's an interesting trade, especially given that like if you compare it to other altcoins like ETH, and I've done this comparison on I think weekly open, and it's been more than accurate since like this like a couple days ago, and that's up quite a bit in the last few days against ETH, right? That's like the interesting part where I think there's like somewhat of a trend reversal coming or like going on, which makes it just interesting. Volume too low? Yeah, I mean, it's not really like one of the hype coins, but I don't really mind volume being low when like you have like news and like a bullish trend, because this is going to end, like this rally is going to end on high volume. It's not necessarily going to have high volume in the middle of it, in my opinion anyway. So yeah, XRP getting to stupid low levels. I mean, it's like it's at a decent support. It's pretty much the same setup as Bitcoin, only that I wouldn't want to take the setup um, before it actually confirms. Like this one, I don't mind. Like I don't want to be buying down here, hoping for a close above support. I'd much rather wait for the close above support. So if it closes above support, I think there's actually a play to be made. But it's still quite a bit away. This looks like not much, but it's like 10%-ish, and there's really not that much interest in this thing. So if it closes above support, I mean, be my guest. I don't think the setup's the worst one. Like this is pretty decent support, turned into resistance here, and if it turns into support here again, you could have like a nice move towards resistance if you get, and I mean, this is like quite the far away target, but then again, like the SEC case is going to be interesting, right? So if that plays out in favor of XRP, I think there can be like a 5x, 6x, 7x. It's just a question of, do you want to hold that long and do you want to bleed this much? Because this is down 30% since here, right? This looks tiny, looks like you've only lost 2%. It's down a shitload, and that is that's why I've been not holding it, even though I think the SEC case is going to be probably a win for XRP, which makes it an interesting bet. But given that these kind of cases can take forever, I would have to see like a really good setup. So yeah, that's that. ETH-wise, right? Because let's talk about ETH before we talk about all of this other garbage. ETH's at support, right? And that's usually good confluence for Bitcoin if Bitcoin has a bullish setup. Problem is Bitcoin doesn't have a bullish setup. It's more of like pray to God that it actually closes above support kind of setup. But ETH has finally reached its support. It's tested this area a couple of times already, which makes it a little bit less good. But I still think this is pretty good support. So what you could see is like this round out. Maybe it wicks, comes back up. I think then it'd be like a really good play if it does that. If not, I mean, yeah, it's still support. And I think resistance wise, like if you take a play from support, you just have to target resistance at 2.7K. I think that makes a lot of sense. That kind of move would make a lot of sense, especially if the S&P just kind of like gives us a little bit of relief. Like if the S&P, and this is like the most important chart, which is, I fucking hate it, and I think it's gonna change eventually, but right now it hasn't, so we're still stuck with it. The S&P and the Nasdaq kind of drive the crypto markets. The S&P reached support, it's been bouncing. This is one of the reasons why I've been taking positions, right? Because I see the S&P reach support, and I'm like, people are too bearish sentiment-wise. And I mean, if you guys want to have the entire sentiment discussion again, let me know. But I don't think, like most people, I think, got it with like the bearish sentiment being rampant in all markets right now. For good reason, like people are bearish for good reason, but they start, like the bearishness has started 7 weeks into a downtrend, right? Which is just ridiculous. Like people weren't bearish for this entire move, or most people weren't anyway, but for this last one, they are. And then they start shorting during the last candle, and there's an easy kind of play, or like an easy way for the market to bounce here to just the next resistance, right? The next resistance is like quite a bit away from support. Like this is 5, 6, 7% for the S&P. That can easily translate to 20% on Bitcoin, and then still go down, right? You could easily make this argument. This. And I wouldn't even hate it. I think that's like actually reasonable. And that would mean Bitcoin and crypto as a whole bounces significantly. And people see the correlation between this and crypto, but they don't really see this bouncing, which is kind of weird given we've had massive bounces on the traditional markets in the past. So, yeah. I have a bunch of ETH and don't really need the money. Is it stupid to just hold for a few months, years, and hope to see all-time highs again one day, or is that cope? I don't think it's necessarily cope. I'm not really too bullish on ETH long term. So like you're asking the wrong kind of guy. Like I wouldn't want to hold any crypto besides Bitcoin for more than a year. I don't really see like, I don't swing that way. I can see myself buy Bitcoin here and all the way down to 14K and sell in 5 or 10 years. I don't see myself buying ETH at 2K and then selling in 5 or 10 years. I think there's a much, much higher chance that something comes and upsets ETH over that something comes in and upsets Bitcoin, which just makes the long-term trade shitty. Short-term, I think like most of the time, but right now that's not even the case, but most of the time you have more upside on ETH than on Bitcoin. But if you're asking me like what should I do long-term, I mean, if you want to hold something long-term, hold Bitcoin, in my opinion. And yeah, a bunch of people are going to disagree. A bunch of people are going to hate on that opinion. I still think ETH is much, much more risky than Bitcoin is. So ETH is still in the altcoin bucket for you? Yeah. I still think you can have like something like Solana, and I mean, I'm not saying Solana is going to be the one, but I still think something like Solana can come up and just dethrone ETH over like a year or two, and see ETH go to near zero afterwards. Like, I don't think that's necessarily unlikely over the long run. Not necessarily this year. I don't think anything has any chance to kind of compete with ETH this year. But like in 4 years, I could easily see something else come up that's just better than ETH. ETH 2.0 fails? I have no idea, man. I'm not the fundamental kind of guy that you should ask. Okay, but that's like what we're dealing with, the S&P and the dollar index, right? The dollar index been going down. The S&P has been bouncing. The S&P has been going up, and that's why we've had like a little bit of a positive move, but you can't really even see it on Bitcoin, right? So far, it's kind of sad, right? The weekly candle for the S&P looks like this. Bitcoin looks like this. There's still like a lot of ways to go. But yeah, we're having a nice little bounce on the lower time frames now, which I usually would disregard, but given this range, this sets up for a nice kind of squeeze play, I think. Because at the end of the day, this resistance has been tested a shitload, right? So if we test it again, maybe Bitcoin finally runs away from the S&P. Not saying you should be buying here. I mean, I've been saying buy the range low with me. And I'm not even entirely sure if we're going to go to range high. This is like an atrocious chart, but yeah. So yeah. Why are you fudding my bags? I mean, I'm going to FUD my own bags as well. I can FUD, like I'm in Bitcoin right now, but I can FUD Bitcoin as well if you want to. Like, do you want me to hit you with like the Bitcoin FUD? Because I hit you with the ETH FUD. I can hit you with the Bitcoin FUD as well. And it's gone. Yeah, that's how quickly it goes. Up 100, down 100 is what it is. So you think another layer 1 will take over eventually? I think that's very, very likely, yeah. At some point. Okay, Brandon says do it. He wants the Bitcoin FUD. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, right, and I'm going to get like a bunch of maxi hate from this as well. But like, if you look at Bitcoin's usage in comparison to like stuff like ETH or even like other layer 1s, it's just tiny, right? No one really uses Bitcoin. People just speculate with it. And which is like fine if you make like the entire gold argument, right? Bitcoin being the digital gold. But the thing is, gold is fucking stupid. Like, I mean, this is the best macro situation gold has ever had, and it's not been moving up, right? No one cares about gold. No one wants to just own like a lazy thing that doesn't do anything anymore. Like, I don't think that's really, really interesting. And that's what Bitcoin does, essentially, right? It's like a better gold, which is nice and all, but it's still like gold is still shitty, and no one really uses Bitcoin. You can see it on the fees. You can see it in general, like on the network, how much it's being used. It's nothing in comparison to ETH. And the only kind of use case that we've in general in crypto kind of have gotten in the last few years is speculation, right? We're all just gambling with this stuff. Yield farming, based on speculation. DeFi in general, just all speculation. Bitcoin, no one uses it really. Like a few handful of people maybe use it for like cool stuff, like sending money over borders, kind of avoiding banks, but most people just don't, right? There's not really that much of a market for it. So like all of this crypto stuff is just speculation, and speculation is much, much better done on ETH, right? There's a bunch of tools that you can use on ETH that make speculating on it much, much better than Bitcoin. So yeah, you kind of have the situation where Bitcoin is just there being the rock, the shitty gold, like equivalent of crypto, which, I mean, if you asked me to like invest in gold, I'd just say, fuck no. And then like the argument, why would you want to be investing in Bitcoin then? It's a pretty tough one for me. So yeah. There you go. There's like a bunch of fun. I still think it's a good buy at 30K. But like I'm long-term wise, I'm just going to be the guy that jumps from like layer 1 to layer 1 or from project to project, because yeah, you get stuff incentivized in this space, right? So how it works is basically you have like the old stuff that had like a few cycles, up a shitload. People invent something new and then raise a bunch of money, use a little bit of that money to incentivize people to use that platform. Other people see that the platform is used and then they use it themselves and obviously speculate on it. They're like, oh, this platform has this not many users, or this coin has this not many like transactions, all that kind of stuff. So it's bullish. They buy it, stuff goes up, the incentives run dry, people leave, it fully retraces, next coin comes up, does the same thing. Now you can make money on these every single time by just hopping. But if you're the guy that buys anywhere into the pump, you're gonna be getting full retraced on. And the best kind of way to play it is just being agnostic, not really caring whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's ETH, whether it's anything, just playing whatever is hot and jumping around. Because at the end of the day, the best thing that crypto does is the speculating part, in my opinion anyway. And I mean, might as well trade the stuff that is actually moving. Are you a trader or an investor? I'm a trader. I used to be an investor. I thought like there was a lot of promise to this thing. Back during the times that aren't really shown on this chart, I was like, this is like really cool. And then with every single year that goes by, I become less of an investor and more of a trader. So like I don't have any long-term holdings of Bitcoin anymore. I sold those quite a while ago. And I don't necessarily plan on reestablishing that, unless like if this completely shits the bed and goes towards like 10K or below 10K, I'm gonna reestablish just twice what I had like back in the day, because it's gonna be much cheaper for me relative, and then just take a decent bet, in my opinion, as like an investor and target new all-time highs. But that's more of like a trading with like a longer term view and not expecting it to go to zero kind of deal. So like I'm just trading this stuff. That's why like I am like, if you ask me about, okay, do you think I should invest in this and that, I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm just gonna be like, I wouldn't. But yeah, I'm not the biggest crypto bull in general. I just think it's the best market to trade. If not Bitcoin, then what else? Where do you put your money long term? Just the traditional scams, like everyone else. So do you have your life savings in dirty fiat? I mean, I bought a bunch of, like, I've been buying this shit. I've been buying the range. I felt like for some time, it felt like I was the only one that was buying range low down here. So no, I don't have my life savings in fiat. I have like a bunch in crypto now. But yeah, I have like a bunch of fiat. Like, it's funny because people are like, dollar is trash, like cash is trash was the big narrative, right? And we can talk about this for a second. Cash is trash was the big narrative. If you've listened to it, you're down what? You're down 60% from the top on your Bitcoin investment, while your cash devalued because of inflation, right? It's not only, oh, I'm down inflation, now you're down 60% on top of it. Now you could say, okay, yeah, but this is just crypto, and then you go to the S&P and you're fucking down from the top, you're down 20% on top of inflation, which has been pretty brutal. All the while people have been saying cash is trash. It's a tragedy. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, oh, dirty cash. Yeah, well, I mean, I prefer having 20% more money in the traditional markets, or like here, not losing 60% while getting battered by inflation, right? I don't know, like, just seems like a shit narrative to follow if it takes you pretty much to the cleanest. And people just take all their money invested in it because people told them cash is trash, and now like they're down 50% on their investments while their money is worthless. So, yeah. I don't know. I just find it like hypocritical of people, because it's always so easy to say, like, I mean, people are just like parroting stuff that they hear, right? And yeah, of course, like, you have inflation, you think like, okay, you don't want to hold too much dollar or euro or whatever. But if asset prices are going down across the board, I mean, I'd much rather be getting hit by inflation rather than just getting hit by inflation and prices going down, which just makes you double lose. So yeah, that's my opinion anyway. And that's going to turn around, right? That narrative that cash is trash, I think we're getting closer and closer to, like, it's still strong, I think, the cash is trash narrative, but I think it's getting closer and closer to being reversed, where people are like, cash is king, and then it's gonna, like, markets are gonna just turn around again. So yeah, with regards to other altcoins, right? Interesting. Like, today has been really interesting because today has been a green day, right? Like, a little bit, at least. The last 2 days have been green on Bitcoin. So far, anyway. We're kind of struggling right now in the low time frames. Like, this is fun to follow, right? You can see its relative strength, and you can see all that kind of stuff on the lower time frames. Just the only times where it just look at the lower time frames just to kind of see, okay, what's going on, where's the bid, where are people like trading, what's the sentiment like, because whenever it gets volatile, people freak out more. But with regards to altcoins, right, so Bitcoin has 2 green days in the last 2 days, and most altcoins have been going down against Bitcoin. YFI took a massive dump. This is based on this YFII taking a huge hit, and then Wi-Fi did the same. Basically, it's only down 3%. This is down 36, was down 67 at some point. But in general, like, you see the last few days have been red across the board. So like, the Bitcoin strength that we've been seeing has not necessarily been mirrored in the altcoins. And honestly, and I mean, I know like this is the biggest meme and people have been saying this for a long, long time, but I think if we get a Bitcoin rally here, there's a good chance that altcoins just don't move USD wise. I think if we get a Bitcoin dump, altcoins are going to shit the bed heavily just by going along with Bitcoin. If we get like a massive pump, I think, like, if we just slow walk up, altcoins are probably going to do fine. But if we get a massive pump into a massive pump, which would make sense if we actually went up, right? Because you saw the low time frame range, right? You see this, like, this is setting up for a squeeze in either direction, right? So it makes sense to either like have like quite the pump or quite the dump, right? Like, both of those make sense. And if we have a pump into 34 in the 34 region, and we're actually bullish, we're going to have a second squeeze, right? We can obviously still fade it. I mean, all of that is fine. But like, if it's actually bullish, we're going to have a second squeeze. And if this like bullish path plays out, I think altcoins, like, you're going to see ETH at 2.1K still, even if Bitcoin trades in the 34, 35K region. I could be wrong in that. I wouldn't want to lean, like, I wouldn't necessarily want to bet on it. but it's just how the market looks right now, to me anyway. People aren't necessarily willing to take risk, and I think it's a nice kind of way to squeeze people out of altcoin positions. I think they're gonna catch up eventually, right? There's a good chance, like let's say we went up here and then up again. I think during the middle of the move, I could see ETH just go up. Like if this happened, and I'm not saying it will, but if it happened, I could see ETH go up like 10% in an hour to kind of catch it all back up. But I think during that move, it would do poorly. So I think in general, ETH pairs, besides a few strong ones, which, I mean, XMR has been strong. I think there's probably going to be a pullback coming on that as well. But in general, it's been pretty strong. But yeah, I think if Bitcoin goes down, you're going to see altcoin, Bitcoin pairs bleed. If Bitcoin goes up enough, I think you're going to see the same thing. Don't think it's time you buy a traditional house now. I just sold one. No, I mean, that entire market seems pretty fucked as well. Not gonna lie. Could go up, could go down. It's not my market, but the entire market seems fucked. I don't want to hold too much of it. So, yeah. But like that, like my opinion on that stuff, on the traditional side of things, is completely like as good as your own, or worse. So like I wouldn't take it too seriously, but yeah, it's just like I feel like that market is heavily overheated as well. And yeah, I just don't wanna be the guy that puts my entire money into it and then takes a 50% haircut, which I think is possible. But like I said, I'm unqualified opinion on that front. BNB, yeah, BNB is like one of the more bullish ones. It's like showing strength, and I think it's probably going to continue to do so. We talked about this when it was at support. We wrote this in the newsletter. Cred asked me what altcoins are you looking at? I was like BNB, XMR, and I think like Zcash or something. And BNB did well, XMR did well, and Zcash just been like Zcash. I don't think it's done anything since. But yeah, it's not looking too poorly on the Bitcoin pair. I don't really think there's too much to do on the trading front. And on the USD pair, it's actually running into resistance, which I would not necessarily want to be trading into, right? So if you have like a little bit of a run into 340, that looks like it wants to retrace after. There's a bunch of resistance actually on this. Like all of this is resistance, pretty tough. Like this on a trading, like if you want to invest, and I mean, I said I don't like investing in altcoins, but I mean, that's just me, right? You don't have to kind of do the same as I do. I don't think that's necessarily the bad. Like you should make your own decisions, obviously. And if you want to invest, I think like it's basically, this looks like a little bit of a capitulation to me. Like this is quite the wick, and we've had those before, right? But so you can invest in it, but trading wise, it's just really tough because next resistance just a little bit ahead. The one above, like even if it breaks that, you have a resistance coming up immediately. If it breaks that, there's another one just above. It's like after that, like if it comes up here and comes back down, there's like a clear trade, but obviously you're gonna miss a shitload of the move. So like trading wise, I just don't see a setup. Like imagine like taking a trade here, your stop loss is basically what, like if you take like a longer time frame trade here, right? You're basically longing here, stop loss is down here, and your target has to be resistance. So it's either here, or here, which is all shit, right? Like this is just a really shitty setup. But it's showing strength relative to everything else, so you can still take it, obviously. Litecoin, I'm not an investor in Litecoin. I'm a forced back holder because I didn't close my fucking position before going on vacation. I think Litecoin's garbage. And I mean, I've been saying as much. I just thought like it's a nice setup. It was a neat setup. I even mentioned in the tweet that I was like, where I said, okay, yeah, this is where I bought it. This is the setup. I said like, if it fails, it's gonna go down 50% just because everything else is gonna go down 50% as well. And that's exactly what happened, right? And yeah, I'm not like, look at this chart. Like I'm not invested in anything that looks like this. This is just a trade. A trade gone wrong on top of it. Isn't that the same thing? I mean, I guess so. You could argue that forced back holding is like being an investor. But yeah, I mean, if I'm going to get like a bearish Bitcoin setup, I'm going to be dumping my Litecoin as well. I don't really care. I mean, at that point, then I'm like down 40% or something. And I mean, it just is what it is. It's going to feel that weak. I mean, that would be quite brutal. That's down 99%. It's even down 95% from where we are right now. Jesus Christ, my chair is dying. Can you touch a little about Germany legalizing weed and if you see pot stocks mooning? I said, what? Bro, like, have I ever talked about pot stocks? Like you're asking, it's like you asking like a football player whether you think like baseball rules are good or not. Like the fuck, how do I know? Like what? I mean, yeah, I do sports basically is the answer. Like I do trade, but it's not my market, and I have no idea if Germany's actually going to legalize it or not. Even though I'm German, because there's a bunch of controversy around it. I don't think you want my opinion on that kind of stuff. Like my opinion on crypto is pretty accurate. I've been doing this full time for a long time now. My opinion on other stuff, and this is why I keep saying it, like for example, real estate, I'm just a newbie there. Other markets, same there. It's not my expertise. So you're more into cocaine? No, I'm not a cocaine kind of guy. I do like some drugs, but I'm not into cocaine. I've actually fallen asleep on it before, believe it or not. Little full time after taking 3 vacations this year. I mean, fair point. Fair point. It's not been 3; it's been much more than that. But yeah, I haven't actually shared a bunch of the vacations I've been taking. I've only shared the ones that have been longer. MDMA, yeah, MDMA is nice. Shrooms is interesting. Yeah. So yeah, there's interesting low time frame stuff still going on. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to see this back at range high, moon it, so I can sleep in peace, because this looks rough. Still, it looks rough on the monthly. It looks rough on the weekly. It looks rough on the daily. It looks somewhat neutral on the 4 hour. It's a pretty rough chart. So yeah, can you share your thoughts on TRX? Oh man, I fucking hate Justin Sun. I hate when TRX moons, because people ask me this question and I will not talk about it. But yeah, it was like a nice, yeah. So what happened basically is you had a support setup that failed and then reclaimed on the monthly time frame, and that usually leads to nice moves. We talked about this like weeks and weeks ago, and I was like, I would not want to be fading this because a bunch of people were shorting right into this breakout, and I mean, I still wouldn't, but it's running into resistance now. So, and that resistance, I think, is gonna be like, this has historically been good resistance. I think that's gonna do something. I hope this is where we reject because Bitcoin moons, but who knows? But yeah, this is still one of the strongest ones, right? Even if you remove all the lines, you could make an argument for an inverse head and shoulders here, right? And then your target, this is just at the neckline, your target would be much higher. And there's memes going for it too. And Justin Sun knows how to pump shit, right? So I wouldn't want to be fading it. You can buy it still. I think if it retraces, still like a decent trade. I'm not going to. I'm not a TRX kind of guy. Like there's some limits to what I do on the trading side of things, and TRX oversteps it by a mile. I just prefer trading other stuff, which I think is probably like trading wise a bad decision. This is more interesting than 90% of the entire market, probably 99% of the market. SC posting driving his Ferrari when you post your Lambo. I like that's the thing, right? You're never gonna see me do that. Like I posted a picture of like me sitting in like in a shitty car, and that's all you're ever gonna get because I don't know, flexing like that is just not my world. I couldn't give less shits about it. Like doesn't really like if you're unhappy with yourself, you have to kind of be cool in front of others, I guess. I've never felt that way. Like I don't have to have the newest shit. Never had to. I just want to have fun in life. I mean, you're gonna see me have like cool vacations and shit, but you're not gonna see me drive around in a Lambo or a Ferrari. Other than like I do drive around on tracks, but like why would I ever want to be buying like a Ferrari or Lambo? It just seems like a shit idea. So yeah. Can you look at Dogecoin? Ay, ay, ay. The suggestions are going down and down in quality. But yeah, we can look at Dogecoin. A friend of mine asked me what I thought about Dogecoin. This is kind of the answer. Obviously, a little bit on the extreme side of things. But I think in general, what you're going to see on Dogecoin is something like this. Could obviously pump before and then dump, but this is going to be the end result. You're going to see a relief pump eventually. I don't know where from, whether it's going to be from down here at 100 sats, whether it's going to be from 37. This is where I would be willing to buy. So like down 90% from where we are right now. I'd be completely fine with buying there. Anywhere else, fuck no. You're not going to see me buy Dogecoin. And I think in general, the Dogecoin kind of story is over. It's going to be heavy dumping from people that have been trapped. And there's been a bunch of bigger guys trapped in this. Don't ask me how. But yeah, I think there's going to be merciless dumping every time we actually move up. So yeah, I think this is roughly it for Dogecoin. Could take like a couple more years. This is obviously just me drawing it out. It's going to be down 90% eventually from where we are right now. It's going to be up a little bit from where we are right now eventually, I'm pretty sure. But that could take years and could be like a 90% drawdown before. So yeah. Are we going to trade above this line? Very, very likely. Are we going to trade below this? Very, very likely. Do with that what you will. But yeah, it's not something that you want to invest long term in or anything. It's just like, it's fucking Dogecoin. And it's been usurped by a bunch of greedy people that kind of ruined the entire spirit of it, which kind of just killed the entire vibe. I don't think many people that have been supporters are still supporters. And if Dogecoin pumps, you're going to see the entire money that should be going into Dogecoin flock into Floki. I think Floki is like a Dogecoin, Shiba, all of those clones, which makes pumping this so much harder, right? It's basically been infiltrated and kind of made useless by other clones. So it's pretty tough to pump it. And if you even pump it all the way, like if this dumped and then pumped like 10x, it would have probably pumped 50x if not for all the clones, because all of that money just diffuses and just goes somewhere else. So yeah, is Shiba's story done? I think it is. Probably gonna play out the same way that I painted Doge. Jesus, that chart is so bad. Where's Poloniex? Here. Nah, this is the wrong one. Whatever, we'll just what's the longest chart on this thing? Because I thought it was Poloniex. Poloniex listed it like quite early, but apparently not. Anyone know? Whatever. If this is like all the history we're gonna get, it's all the history we're gonna get. Wow, everyone has it listed now. But yeah, we can just run with Poloniex. It's fine. Or with this. So like you look at this and you can kind of see a market cycle in full effect. And I think there's gonna be another one, but it's like you could easily go down here and have like a full market cycle and then go back down. Like in general, I think a lot of these altcoins are gonna do this, where they're probably gonna trade higher than what they're trading at right now. I wouldn't want to bet on it, but I think they're going to trade higher, but they're eventually gonna end up near zero. And Shiba is one of them. I think all of these, it's just like, and the reason for this is very, very simple, right? We can look over, and I mean, I've done this multiple times, but I guess there's new people every now and then that show up into the stream. Look at this. There's 20,000 cryptos listed on CoinMarketCap, right? Is there a chart of that? I wish there was. So every single day, you can look at this. Every single day, there's new altcoins added, right? And there used to be, this was just like 1K, 500, 200. There used to be like 200 coins. I mean, it started out with nothing, right? But there used to be like 200 coins that were traded. And now you have all of that volume in 20,000, right? And the higher that number goes, that's the inflation of crypto, right? Because we talk about like USD inflation, whatever. The inflation of crypto is basically adding new cryptos. Because you can do that an infinite amount of times, right? You can just use, like you can take Bitcoin, fork it. You can take XRP, fork it. I mean, XRP has a bunch of forks. Bitcoin does too. And then all of that money that you would have had in Bitcoin or in ETH or in any of these just goes, like some of it goes to Bitcoin, some of it goes to ETH, and then some of it goes into these shit coins. And the more coins there are, the more kind of like that money goes into like something else. And that doesn't really help you any if you're in Bitcoin, right? Shiba going up 10x doesn't really help you in Bitcoin. And then Shiba has the same problem, of course, right? Where people invested in Shiba last cycle, now something new comes up and Shiba gets kind of like the same treatment that Bitcoin has been getting, which is not as much interest. And that keeps on going, keeps on going. On top of that, obviously, these coins oftentimes have higher inflation than the dollar has, much, much higher. Dogecoin has quite a high inflation, always had it. And yeah, most of these cryptos have high inflation on top of that. But like the crypto market as a whole is inflating away, right? It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but it doesn't really help you any because every new coin that gets added, you're not buying every coin that gets added. And even if you did, the market cap of crypto as a whole could go up while you're still losing money, right? So that's kind of the deal that we have. And this is why stuff like Shiba, for example, if you get an exit pump, you're very, very lucky. Like if you get like a second pump to get out, because there's a chance that there's never going to be another one, because then you're going to have Shiba be something else. So you had Dogecoin come first, had a massive rally, didn't do much. Then Shiba came in, had like an even bigger rally than Dogecoin had, took bit away from Dogecoin. Then you had Floki or whatever that took bit away from Shiba, and it keeps on going like that. It keeps on going, and now that like all of this retail buying is stuck in this garbage, why would you necessarily want to be pumping this, right? Because the thing is, it costs you more to pump this, because you're gonna have like a bunch of retail sell on your ass, right? You're gonna have to absorb all of this retail buying that happened way high to pump this. Like if you want to take this to all-time high, you have to buy out all of these idiots that bought out high. And why would you want to be doing that if you can just buy like a new coin, put a bunch of money in it, there's no overhang there, and then you can sell into the people that have this shit that sell to buy your new stuff, right? Like you're gonna have much more buying interest in the new stuff. You're gonna have much a better time accumulating it without being afraid that people just stomp on your ass and you can't actually pump it. So like that's how the crypto game is played, right? You go down the ladder, you go and add a new thing and a new thing and a new thing. And it's very expensive to pump these things, especially if you fail, right? So you want to be pumping stuff where you kind of know that you're not going to get fucked over by holders that are just waiting to exit. It's also tiresome, flooding our entire industry, nice, while being bullish. Yep. I mean, that's crypto. It's crypto in a nutshell. And if you can't deal with that, you're in the wrong space, because it's just how the game has been played for years. And everyone that doesn't like realize it after having been around for a while is either like oblivious or telling you lies. Like, it's very, very obvious what is going on. That applies to Bitcoin too. Yeah, I think Bitcoin would be much higher without this in place. So yeah, this is like one of the most bearish things about crypto as a whole. That thing, because what happens is basically everyone that has figured this out, right? And you can legitimately see how people figure this out during their crypto lifetime, right? Like people like Richard Hart, like the Hex guy, they go and margin trade allegedly, right? Allegedly, all of this is allegedly what happened. They go and trade on margin, get liquidated over and over and over again, lose all their money. And then they realize, holy shit, these guys are just creating garbage out of thin air, making a shitload of money. Why am I trading? And then they create some kind of spin-off of anything else, sell it to some new people in the space, and then they take all of that money that they're getting out of the market, buy Lambos, buy Ferraris, buy anything really in the real world, taking the bit away from others, right? Like crypto would be doing much better if that wasn't the case. But yeah, it's just how it is, and allegedly, of course. And I've seen it happen multiple times. And it's the same thing with people selling pre-sales like to their audience. It's like most people fucking hate the thought of it when they get into crypto, and then they just like see their peers do it and just are like, fuck it, if they're doing it, I'm gonna do it too. And I don't want to stoop that low ever. I'm not going to. If you ever see me like shill something that I got paid to shill without me actually saying that I did, call me out on it. I'm more than happy to be called out on stuff like that. It's not gonna happen, but yeah, this is just like how I've read a thread about this a couple days ago, where it's basically people in crypto are always they always have this thing where they have to fight to, especially like projects in crypto, they have this fight, like they have to fight the urge to add Ponzinomics into their shit, because it's so easy to make stuff pump by adding a Ponzi to your coin. Luna being a good example. And a lot of people just like succumb to it because it's so easy to do, and there's so much money to be made short term. And that's just kind of what people do. And it's the same with like people like with influencers, where it's like there's just imagine you being in the situation where, and I mean, I've been in the situation where you just sit around and someone comes up to you and it's like, hey, can you tweet about this 2 times? We're going to give you 6 figures for it. Would you take it? And I don't, like I never did. I think that's like, I'm not going to shill anything that I think is like trash and it's going to get people wrecked. But that's just me, right? And someone asked, why do you shill FTX then? Well, I think like what they're basically doing is they're paying me for something I would do anyway. And I think they legitimately like have like a good product. They're not out there to scam you. So, yeah. So I don't have a problem taking money for something I would do anyway. But that's just my opinion. Could be what you think about that. I don't really care. Let me tell you though, like I've been offered more than 10 times, and I have offers right now to like stream on other platforms, like to kind of like put ads on other like shady margin trade platforms for more than double of what I get now. But I don't take it because I don't want to support that shit. A bunch of people do, and that's fine. But yeah. So yeah, that's just kind of how it works, right? And I mean, if you hate on the people that do it, just put yourself in their shoes, I guess. I mean, I am in their shoes, and I'm just saying no personally. So I feel like I'm free to hate on it. I think it's like legitimate to kind of say, hey, this is shit, when you have like the same opportunity to do it, right? Like I could make, especially during the height of the bull run, I could have made like at least, I think, like in ad offers, 5 million plus, by just chilling garbage, right? And I mean, that's the kind of numbers we're talking about, right? And you don't even have to say this is the greatest thing. You just have to tweet about it, because they like to get attention anyway, right? The name's out there, so they're gonna give you a bunch of money to just tweet the name with like a chart. And obviously, the more you shill it, the more money you get, but there's a lot of money to be made. And it's not something that I'm interested in. I don't give a shit. I'd much rather make it in the market, even though it's like the most casual money you can make. It's so easy. It's just not for me. So, yeah. And the thing is, like, the same is true with reflinks, right? There's so much money to be made, or there was so much money to be made in reflinks. I refused to shill reflinks because I never wanted to send anyone to casinos event. Like, I mean, that's kind of what, every time, like I shilled one reflink once, and that was my Deribit reflink when BitMEX was going down, because I was trading on BitMEX. BitMEX kept going down, so I was like, hey, if you want to sign up, you can use this reflink, right? And I made a couple of Bitcoin shilling it once, and then I saw how like I made like X amount every single day. I think I posted it. I think I made like 3 Bitcoin or something, or 4 Bitcoin shilling it once. And what basically happened, right, was I was making 0.5 Bitcoin or like 0.3 or something a day at the start. And then the revenue, basically, the reflink revenue went like this. And I'm pretty sure what happens, right? And this is like, I mean, there's a bunch of people that have been shilling reflinks, is you shill your reflink, you make a shitload, it drops because people get liquidated, you shill it again, it goes up again, and it does something like this, where people keep on getting liquidated, you get them on the platforms. You're the guy that makes 6, 7, 8 figures off of it, because I mean, I shelled it once when like the market was tiny, and I made $150,000 or whatever on it. And you can imagine how much these YouTubers and like the people that shill reflinks professionally, basically, how much they make. But I'm just like not in it. Like, fuck no, it's just not interesting to me. Because at the end of the day, like what you're basically doing is you're taking advantage, like you're selling people to the exchanges, to the leverage exchanges, to get them liquidated, right? You send them over, you're like, I'm gonna take a cut, you're gonna take the rest, and that's fine. And it's not something I'm interested in particularly. And this is like even less. I don't have a problem with people shilling ref links, because at the end of the day, everyone has like makes their own choices. If you want to go and trade on the leverage platform, you're damn free to do so, and like you get like a discount if you trade on a leverage, like on a ref link. So might as well, if you're gonna do it, might as well use a ref link. And if you're already gonna use a ref link, might as well use mine, right? But no, it's just not. I just thought about like that graph that I saw, like that revenue graph where people just got like completely rinsed, and I was like, nah, not for me. So if you're like, haha, like he's shilling FTX, you gotta realize I made a bunch more by shilling, like tweeting once about a ref link than I made on like the stream, which is just like, yeah. I could make, like, if I wanted to use you guys to make money, I could. It's just, I'm not interested in it. So, yeah. That's just how I look at things. And, like, I mean, yeah, it's just weird seeing people have, like, shill ref links, have a paid group, shill fucking garbage IDOs, and then try to be the bigger man, right? And I just don't see how that makes any sense. So yeah, just tell people to ref link themselves doesn't really work anymore too well on most exchanges. That's what I told people back in the day, just ref link yourself. But nowadays, less easy to do. But yeah, that's how the YouTube game works basically. The ref link stuff is the easy money, and then they also shill IDOs for big money, and yeah. I respect you a lot for not taking advantage of us, but not sure about the ethics of FTX, maybe the lesser evil. I mean, what I'm basically like, the link in the description, right? And we can talk about this like properly, takes you to the spot trading, which is Blockfolio, right? And I actually, the only reason why I signed the deal is because you don't leverage trade there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. And I think that's completely ethical. Like, you buying and selling shit coins on your own, that's whatever you want to, like, you do whatever you want to. Now, would I be shilling like margin exchanges? Not necessarily, probably not. But people want to do it, right? It's not like those margin exchanges are the evil. I think people, I mean, at the end of the day, people are kind of responsible for themselves. And people like, I really like BitMEX. I made a bunch of money on it. I like Bitfinex as well. I like a bunch of these, and I use a bunch of these. It's just retail doesn't belong there. And of the exchanges that we have, like, I like FTX the most personally, in the ethics compartment anyway. It doesn't have to say much given the crypto space, but because like most stuff is just borderline crazy. But yeah, it's just my opinion. But yeah, I think that's plenty. Ending on a sad note, or like not even a sad note, it's just the reality of it all. And I feel like people just kind of forget. So yeah. To end, like, let's look at the low time frames for a second. This you hate to see. You see this? Two massive green 1 hourly candles. You look at Bitcoin, you have a green one and a fucking red one. This you hate to see. Not a good look at all. Because we kind of need to decouple to make the dream come true. And this is the opposite of decoupling. This is like, it is decoupling in a sense, but it's like the wrong decoupling. This is not the decoupling you want to see. So yeah, there you go. I think that's plenty. Hope you enjoyed the show, even if it went on a tangent at the end and in general just went off the track. I have guests I should have left like 20 minutes ago, but I just got carried away. So yeah. Before I end the show, I want to thank today's sponsor, FTX. We talked about them a bunch already, but the links are in the description. If you want to check them out, you should. And yeah, appreciate you guys coming by. Wish you a happy midweek or whatever, rest of the week, and we'll see each other soon. Bye-bye.